So there are a handful of breeders out there that are doing some amazing things in this space. And there's one breeder in particular that's, I feel like, really pushing the needle. A lot of people are really talking about him. I actually have 3 of his breeder cuts in this tent that I'm gonna go over. I'm also gonna go over everything I'm doing in regards to growing these plants. Since I have the tent open, the environment has kind of got thrown off. Usually what I'll do is I will show you the controller and kind of what the temperature and humidity shows on that. Not gonna be able to do that since everything's thrown off, but what I'll tell you is that typically the temperature has ranged anywhere from 80 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. That's lights on temperature. When the lights turn off, it's been dropping down between 70 and 75 degrees. So we're looking at about a 7 to 10 degree difference roughly from day to night temperatures. In regards to VPD, 1.2 to 1.4 kPa is what it's been staying within. What humidity that is, it actually depend on if the lights were on or off. So I'm not gonna name a specific RH, but one thing I will tell you is this humidifier has been awesome in helping to maintain that consistent VPD. This is the CloudForge T7 humidifier by AC Infinity, and this thing is a beast. I really like this one. I had the T5 in here before. Some of you remember me showing that in the past. That one was pretty good, but I had to fill it up like multiple times a day. Plants were smaller, they weren't really transpiring, humidity was lower, so I was just finding myself filling up over and over and over again. This is a much larger capacity, and it works really well in this 4x8 grow tent. I think it holds about almost 4 gallons, just under 4 gallons. I think it's 15 liters of water in there. So for me to be able to dump 3 plus gallons in there and then not have to fill it up every single day, that's a win for me. So definitely wanted to call that out. And I also want to give a thanks to AC Infinity as well. They are sponsoring this video. They hook up my viewers with a discount code. You could use code MrGrowIt15. That works on both their website as well as Amazon. So use that code to save a few bucks. Now let's talk about some of the genetics that I'm growing in here this time around. Got a seat here to make things a little bit easier on the knees. And of course I am going to bust out the glasses as well to protect my eyes. I got called out in a past video, so I've been doing it. Hopefully that person is thankful that I'm now using eye protection. So here I have 3 plants, all by the same breeder, Shadowborn Genetics. Big shout out to Shadowborn Genetics, doing some amazing things in this space, like I mentioned in the intro. This one up front here is gonna be Pungent Punch. This is Double Berry Blast crossed with Wild Berry Runts. And he was really excited about that one. The one in the back there, which is stretching like absolute madness, is Grape Spray Paint, which is Pungent Punch crossed with Truffola. The Truffola was a breeder's cut. And then this last one in the corner there, that is Raspberry Jelly Donuts, which is Mac and Gary breeder's cut crossed with Truffola breeder's cut. So I'm sure you're familiar with some of those parents. He does so much breeding of these, well, let's say hype strains. I don't know, the hype strains, they keep on coming and going. It seems like every month there's something new that pops up that is a hype strain, but a lot of these things are well known. I do want to name off just a short list of things that he's working on, because this is just a very small amount of things that he has going on right now. He's got a Double Berry Blast, which is Blueberry Muffin crossed with Vintage Blueberry Freak. He's got a Wild Berry Runts, which is Purple Punch crossed with Runts. He's got a Mac and Gary, which is Mac 1 crossed with Gary Payton. And the list goes on. I mean, he's got Australian Bastard crossed with Blueberry Muffin, a Mac and Gary crossed with Truffola, Grape Gas crossed with Tropicherry. I'm gonna put the list on the screen right now so I don't continue to read off, but lots of familiar genetics in there, and he's doing some amazing things out there. So definitely want to give him a shout out. He actually just recently got his Instagram deleted. I don't know how many thousands of subscribers he had, but I know he had quite a bit. So I definitely want to mention it. Now he's Shadowborn Genetics 2 on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, give him a follow and you'll be able to see more of his content, pictures, videos, all that stuff is posted on his Instagram. Now, in regards to how these plants are being grown, you can see I've got them both onto auto pots, Trader Grows. Now, some of you have been watching my channel for quite a while now, and in recent weeks, you may have noticed I had a Trader Grow in another grow tent. So I actually have 3 Trader Grows now by auto pot just because I like it so much. Also, by the way, these are pepper plants here. Got to mention those. We'll cover them in a little bit, but I know the majority of my audience is all about cannabis, so I want to focus on that. Anyways, the cannabis plants are in 5-gallon containers and they're in bioflower soil. I really like this soil. I have just like the amount of aeration and the growth I get from it. I really feel like the ratio of peat to cocoa, it's more heavier in cocoa. It's going to add additional aeration in there. The plants just seem to grow quicker than I has in past soils that I've used. I also have a moisture meter. Actually, I don't have moisture meters in these ones, but in other tents, I am using the same soil, and the moisture percentage, according to my EcoWet moisture meter, is about 40 to 45% roughly. So it's a little bit higher than some of the other soils that I've used. I'm able to get away with that. I was actually kind of surprised with how much moisture it kind of holds on to without struggling, without being overwatered, without stunted growth. So I figured I'd mention that not all soils are created equal. And this tray to grow, the wick system, it basically just takes the water from the bottom up into the pots, and everything's just all automated. I have a 5-gallon bucket over there. There's a reservoir. Tubing runs from that 5-gallon bucket, splits off into both the tray to grows, and it just makes it so much easier. In regards to nutrition, what I'm using is Athena nutrients this time around. I was able to get a sample pack from the cultivator kit from AC Infinity. So that came in there. I've just been using it, and the plants have been healthy across the board. I've been really happy with how they have been growing so far. And I've actually only been doing about a half dose throughout the entire grow cycle. Sometimes I've been filling up this reservoir, I've been water only. So kind of going back to the old school traditional way of feed, water, feed, water. I've been kind of just eyeing the plant, reading the plant, and seeing, okay, it could probably use a little bit of dose of nutrients now because the leaves might be lightening up a little bit, or hey, the leaves might be a little bit too dark. Let me do a water only for this time around. Yeah, the plants seem to be loving it. Even in flower, where I heard a lot of people that use Athena are using full dose of nutrients throughout the entire flowering stage. I'm still on a half dose and things are looking good. So, but we're still early in the flowering stage. We're on day 14 and we're still stretching. I had mentioned that this plant in the back there, that thing, I don't know how big it's gonna be really until this thing stops stretching. I might have to bring that light all the way up to the top of the tent potentially. I've got them in tomato cages because they were out of control. It reminds me of like an OG, growing OGs. I don't know how many of you have experience growing OGs, but long internodes, real stretchy. They usually get buds on them so big that they're kind of flopping all over the place. So when I use this tomato cage, I've used tomato cage several times in the past, it just makes things so much easier kind of keeping the plant together. Additional plant support when the plants have so heavy of buds on there that they start to flop over. So hoping I don't get that finicky issue this time around, but it's looking like I might. We've got another 7+ days, maybe 7 to 10 days of stretch left. So maybe I'll do some super cropping on some of the taller ones so it doesn't get too out of control. But man, I am just getting a lot of vertical growth here in the stretch phase and just eager for it to stop stretching and just to focus on that bud development, because yeah, things could continue to get out of control if it continues to grow upwards like that. Now in regards to lighting, got 2 lights in here. This is the AC Infinity Evo 3 LED grow light. I really like having 2 lights in a 4x4 space for this particular reason here. I've got some plants that are growing crazy and I need to have a higher light versus a smaller plants. So I've talked about that before. Figured I'd mention it again. I really do like these lights. I've been running them for, geez, I think 2 years now, maybe even longer than that. I did a whole video on it, unboxing type video on it. I'll link that in the description for those that care to learn more about these lights, but really liking how these lights have performed over the past several grows. As far as ppfd, it's about 700 right now at the top of this plant, and I'm about 750 at the top of that plant over there. I like between 600 and 900 ppfd in the flowering stage. Since we're still in stretch, I'm kind of slowly ramping up to that 900 ppfd. That is what I plan to end off at. We're in a 12 light cycle, 12 hours with lights on, 12 hours of complete darkness. And so the DLI, I don't have it memorized. I can't calculate that all in my brain. So I'm gonna put it in the bottom corner of the screen right now, what the DLI is for those of you that care. But yeah, overall, I'm really happy with how these cannabis plants are growing. Really excited to see how they develop, their morphology, how they express themselves. So far, I'm getting some crazy smells here. Let's see what we got here for, this is the Pungent Punch. Oh wow, fruity, massive, like kind of like fruit punch is kind of what I'm getting right off the bat. This is the grape gas. Let's use a different hand for this. Oh yeah, grape, 100% grape. And then this one doesn't really have buds forming on it yet. Let's see if I can get anything from this. This is the raspberry jelly donut. Nah, I'm not getting anything from this right now. Just not really any trichomes on there. So I'll have to report back in a future video on what I'm getting for smells off of that. Pepper plants. Let's cover this real quick for those of you that care. I've got 4 different pepper plants in here. I've got 2 of them are bullnose pepper. I've got 1 jalapeno and I've got 1 sweet pepper. And what I've been doing is real bushy structure here. Everything is looking great. You can see the flowering happening. In order to pollinate these plants, because basically, for those that don't know, pepper plants need to be pollinated in order to form the peppers. There's a couple different techniques. One way I was taught was just to shake the plant. Shaking the plant like this, what it's gonna do is gonna knock the pollen from the flower, from one part of the flower onto a different part of the flower, and that sparks the pollination process. Another way to go about it, which is actually what I do for now on, I don't really do that shake process much, is I take a Q-tip and I just dab the Q-tip on each one of the flowers, and I'll go through and I'll do each plant. Every day I usually come in here and do each plant, just dabbing the flowers. That way it's knocking the pollen loose, getting it to the other part of the flower that it needs to be, and then of course peppers are forming. Bulbous peppers aren't really forming right now. I did get 1 harvest of them. Now I'm just waiting for them to flower and start to form again. Getting some good jalapenos to grow, and the sweet peppers are just getting bigger and bigger every single day. I've wanted to do peppers on this tray to grow. It was kind of like, I don't know, I'd say a dream of mine, but I really just envisioned this happening. I was like, man, I really want just a bunch of peppers that me and my family can have, and I love having jalapenos in my tacos. Sweet peppers I haven't even harvested yet. It's my first time growing the sweet peppers. Bullnose peppers, which is kind of like a bell pepper. That's used. It uses sausage, peppers, onions is a famous meal that I really like. I've just been so excited growing something other than cannabis. I always encourage folks that, hey, if you're only growing cannabis and you have any sort of interest in growing something else, peppers might be a good start point. Pretty much the same feed. I have them on the same tray to grow with the same nutrients I talked about, and this is how they look so far. A couple of them have little deficiencies from before. I think it's just because it was water only for a little bit. But for the most part, it's very easy, and they can take similar light levels to cannabis from my understanding. Now, I'm no expert. Certainly no expert when it comes to peppers. I'm still learning, and I'd love to know in the comment section below, those that do grow peppers, what tips do you have? Please let me know. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover in this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll leave it at that. Thank y'all so much for tuning in this time around. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.